Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Soul Sessions. I'm Michelle Durand, and I'm here with Tracey Swainson, and we both help women who have been through pregnancy loss. Tracey helps women specifically who've been through miscarriages, and I help women who've been through abortion experiences. Last week, we shared a little bit about who we are, what we do, and a little bit of our story. So if you missed that, I encourage you to go back to the first video and watch that and get a little bit more information about who we are. But today, we wanted to come and talk to you about the grieving process. And the grieving process is actually just some stages that you go through after the loss of your baby. So there are actually 5 to 7 different stages, but for today, we will focus on relief and denial and bargaining. And also, we're going to talk about shock. And I'm going to let Tracey just share a little bit about, who she is, who she works with. And I'm going to let her share some of her story that brings you back to when she had her miscarriages and like how she felt at those beginning stages, because we realize like a lot of women might be at that beginning stage, or their miscarriage or abortion might have been many years ago, but they find themselves like still in the beginning stages. So our goal for this video is to bring some awareness to the different stages that you will go through, that they're normal, they're natural, but what's not normal and natural is for you to actually get stuck in one and not be able to process through. So I'd like for you, Tracey, would you be willing to share with us, like, how did you find yourself in those beginning stages of the grieving process right after your miscarriage?
Hi, Michelle. Yes. And I just want to recognize too that even though what my stages were, every experience is different. So even I've had multiple miscarriages and every single one was different than the one before. But if I go back to remembering to where I was at the time of the miscarriage, of course, right before that, of course, for me was joy. But I understand that for some women who've experienced miscarriage, it's not the right timing for them. And so that in itself is a relief for them, in that right now they just don't want to have children. It's not the right timing for them. And so experiencing miscarriage is relief. And they really do heal quite quickly from the experience. For myself, I ended up getting stuck in many of these stages. Immediately after my miscarriage, I went from shock. I just couldn't believe it had happened. I had a healthy body. I ate well. I exercised daily. I was strong and I was fit. And I couldn't believe that I could lose my baby. I mean, I had dreamed all my life of having a child. And how could this possibly happen? What's wrong with me? And then I went into denial, thinking, again, what's wrong with me? Why would this happen? Why? The why, and just kept following me. And that is a big one, hitting that why. And then bargaining was one that hit me right before I started miscarriaging, when I was spotting and when I was bleeding. And I was like, God, please, no. I will do anything. Please don't let this baby pass. I want this baby. Please don't let it pass. I'll do anything. I'll get healthier. I'll get stronger. I'll get more fit. I'll do whatever it takes to please let this baby stay with me. And then, of course, very shortly after that follows the guilt. It's a very emotional journey to go through.
I can about imagine. So if someone's listening right now and they're just really in the pain of it, like, what do you say to that lady who she may be like a few weeks, a few months, or maybe not even a year yet, and that anniversary is coming up from the miscarriage and she's really struggling with how she's feeling? Like, what's one thing that you could say to her right now that could maybe just help her, give her some hope?
For one, I would just tell her to give herself some permission to just hold space for where she is right now. You will get through it, but for right now, in the space that you're in, if you're coming up on an anniversary, this is a beautiful time to just really honor yourself and where you've been, along this way. It takes so much courage to go through a healing journey like this. And my hope is that you go through it quickly, but to really honor the space that you're in. So if that means you could buy yourself a piece of jewelry or something just for a memory sake, that's a beautiful thing to do. But if you're really in that stage, I would hope that you would be past the shock and the denial and the bargaining at that point. A lot of times you're hitting the guilt and maybe anxiety and depression in that stage. But it's usually just the very first few days, hours, days, weeks that you're going through those initial stages. What would be your experience, Michelle, with an abortion?
Yeah, I was thinking, wow, that's very different, because when women who've had abortions, first of all, for me, well, from my own experience, I did not experience joy whatsoever. So when I found out I was pregnant, it was not a good time. It was an unplanned pregnancy, and it was not even something that I was ready to deal with for so many, many reasons. And so there was no joy. I quickly was looking for a solution. I was looking for an answer and a way out of the situation that I found myself in. And so when the idea, of course, I had I could have either chose to have my child and parent. I could have chose to have my child and give it up for adoption, or I could have and then I chose to have an abortion. But I didn't realize the process I would go through after I had that abortion. So in the beginning, when I made that decision, I think that, and as I've been working with women who've been through this process, that immediate feeling they have is of relief. So it's like, oh, this decision has been made, and, the solution is here, and this is what we're going to do. Or this is what I'm going to do, because unfortunately many women are alone, and they go through that abortion. And so right away, so they have that relief that, okay, I'm not pregnant anymore. But they go into a lot of times, they go into denial. I went into denial in so many ways. And what that looks like for me is that I wanted to cover it up. I didn't want anyone to know what I had done. I was filled with shame. I was just so embarrassed for what I did. And that is where the guilt comes in. And that's where the survivor guilt, which we'll talk about in the next few episodes as we share more about guilt. But that's where that guilt set in. And then I started having a lot of anger, because I started not only blaming myself, but I started blaming other people. And so I went really quickly, but I stayed in that, let's see. So it's like, every woman's different. Every experience is different. And I know for sure I stayed in so many stages for too long, like years. And I want to say something real quick. It's not about how quickly we can get through this. No. And I don't want women to feel like they're on a race, because they're not. Like, we don't even know when. I mean, Tracey, don't you agree? We don't even know when our feelings are going to come up, right? I mean, we can be triggered.
No, it's an emotional roller coaster when you're going through a pregnancy loss, no matter what it is, from miscarriage to abortion to stillbirth to anything in between. Our feelings and our emotions fluctuate so much. And one moment you could be feeling one way, and literally the next you could have a whole different emotion. And you could be sitting in multiple different spaces at one time with each of these emotions. So that's very true.
And so for today's focus, we're only focusing on those beginning stages. We just kind of want to show you like what they are, what they look like, and how maybe you can be aware of those in your own experience. So if you've had a miscarriage, or if you've been through abortion, then maybe you can stop and see where you felt some relief in that situation. And then where did you feel some denial? Like, are you in denial? Denial is the trap. denial will keep people trapped. Did you find that you were stuck in denial, Tracey, from your miscarriages?
I did find myself stuck in denial. In that I couldn't believe that it had happened to me. Like, I just couldn't believe you stay in that space, and of, I guess that's where anger came in. I thought earlier maybe anger didn't come in, but for me, now that I'm thinking about it, it actually did, because I put a lot of self-blame, like a lot of blame and the energy of anger on me. What is wrong with me? And how could this ever happen to me? So that's where I guess the overlapping of denial and anger would come in that stage there.
And also, like, I want to make sure we bring this up. It's so important. We can feel like 2, 3 at the same time. So that's why women feel like I'm going crazy. And I totally get it. It makes us feel like we're going crazy because, but when you're in denial, for me, it was just like denying, like, no, it didn't happen. No, it wasn't a baby, whatever you're denying. Denial means anything you are denying. And that could be and it's ultimately denying your own self from healing. But, it's like once you come out of denial, that's when reality hits. And boy, when that reality hits, like, whoa, I really did this. This is reality. This is what happened. This is the reality. I think that is heavy. And that's when people start to say, oh, well, I blame this person and this person. They didn't tell me. And they just start blaming, right? And then that's when you really, really, really stuck, because you're not able to forgive everyone else. You're not able to forgive yourself because you're just stuck in the blame game.
Yeah.
Did you experience that?
I would have to say that happened to me very much so. The blame game played a big part of it. And you mentioned earlier as well as shame. And these are all things that we're going to get into in our upcoming conversations that played. Oh my God, shame was a horrible one. That's what held me back. That totally held me back from my own healing for many, many years, was the shame. And we all experience it in different ways. It can be tough. So yeah, the whole point of this conversation is to share our stories, so that if you're sitting out there and you've either recently gone through any type of pregnancy loss, no matter what your experience is, there's nothing wrong with you. What you're feeling right now is perfectly normal. And if you feel like you're an emotional roller coaster, that in itself is normal. You're not crazy. You're not, it's something that we all go through in our own ways.
Yeah. And I feel like if someone's listening, this is such a complex, complicated situation to find themselves in. I mean, when you lose a child, you're hurting. You're hurting. And yes, we're right now, if you're just joining in, we're talking about the grieving process after losing a baby, and how if you are not aware of the different stages, then you're not aware if you've processed through healthily or if you're stuck. And so we just want to bring some awareness and some light to that area. But one of the questions I get asked a lot, Tracey, is, am I ever able to heal from my abortion? And I'm wondering if you get asked that question as well, and how do you answer it? And then I'll answer it afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing that almost haunts women, especially, well, even whether you can go on to have children yourself after this one, or maybe you're like myself and you cannot have children at all. Will I ever get over this? You will come to a place of having peace with this. You absolutely will come to a place of having peace if you're willing to take the steps to go through that grief journey and not bury it. That's something that I actually did. I buried my emotions. I tried to hide them. I thought if I was cheerful and optimistic on the outside, nobody would know. But the reality is, in the quiet times, at night, tossing and turning, often a dream, there would be tears. It's very common to feel like you're never going to get through this, but you absolutely will. But you have to be willing to go through the steps, each step of the way, and find what's going to work for you to help you release. the pain. And that's something that Michelle and I can both help you with depending on your situation. But what about you, Michelle? How did it work for you in your grieving journey and healing journey?
Yeah, it was for me, it took many years, and but I went through my own really intense healing training. I call it my slash training, because now what I help women go through it, and it's so much quicker than what I went through. And I know the same with you. So I love that, the beauty of it is that we're able to now turn that around and help other women who are not yet fully healed. And what we mean by fully healed is accepting it, is accepting the loss, accepting your part in it, and realizing that I did the best that I can with what I had at the time. And that's key. And if you can get to that point where you know it in your head and you feel it in your heart, that's where you can find peace. That's where you can transform those tears into treasures again. And the memories of your babies are no longer the painful memories, the reality memory, but more of the memory of, I know that, this was the best thing that happened. It was out of my control. Maybe it was in your control, but the past is the past. You can't go back and change it. But I mean, the whole goal of it is accepting it. So will the pain go away? Yes, the pain can diminish. The pain can, like, I think both of us, I don't believe either one of us could be here talking without crying if we were not fully healed. Do you agree?
I absolutely agree. Yes.
Yeah. So, this just didn't happen overnight. This didn't happen in a few weeks. This didn't happen in a few months. This happened for us over a period of years. We're here to tell you that you do not have to go through it for years and years and years and tears. You don't. And so, we're here and we are smiling and we have peace and we have joy again, but we didn't always. And we know that there's so many women who are silently suffering in their own pain, in their own shame, in their own guilt. And a huge, huge thing with guilt is that there's different types of guilt. And we don't have time to go into that today, but we definitely have a plan to go into that next week. And we're going to talk about the different types of guilt. And we're also going to talk about survivor guilt. And if you've never heard of survivor guilt, it is basically what we pretty much all go through when we lose someone, but we are still surviving. We're still alive. That could be a really tough place to be. It could be filled with a lot of anger and depression and suicidal thoughts. And we're going to touch on that next week. So if you are listening and you've had a miscarriage or an abortion or more than one, please reach out to us. Let us know, what are you struggling with? How can we help you? We are here to serve you. We're creating videos for you to be able to find some hope and some encouragement, and to offer you an invitation to join other like-minded people who've been through the same similar situations that you have, to have a safe space for them. So we have created a space outside of this video, of course, for you to go. But also, if you know anyone who's had a miscarriage or an abortion, please, please help us spread the word, and that there is healing and hope available by sharing this video, by letting them know about us. And we really would appreciate it. So Tracey, I know you've been working on a group. Would you like to share a little bit about your group and how they can find that group? If anyone's watching, they've had a miscarriage and they just feel so alone right now, and they just feel like no one understands and no one gets them, maybe no one even knows, where can they go and find you and find that group of women who've been through miscarriages?
Yes, and just before we get to that, I just wanted to point out, you just touched on it earlier, that for both of our journeys, it was years and years. And it took a long time for us to go through that healing process. So what I want to just touch on very quickly is, it doesn't matter if you just experienced a pregnancy loss 6 weeks ago, 6 months ago, or 60 years ago. It is never too late, because too often we do bury our emotions and we don't totally heal. And you can find peace. You can find acceptance with your loss. I've helped a woman who had her pregnancy last 50 years. previously. And she held on to that grief all those years.
Mm-hmm.
So the time means nothing. You can always work on finding your peace and finding your acceptance in this loss. And yes, we both do have a Facebook group each. Mine is it's called Peace After Pregnancy Loss, and it's for women who experience the emotional trauma of miscarriage or an unborn baby through pregnancy loss. And Michelle, yours is?
Yeah, so I have a group on Facebook as well. It's a closed group, but you can still find it if you search for Tears to Treasures. TEARSTO and then TREASURES, Tears to Treasures, Healing After Abortion. And so Tracey and I are inviting you to reach out to us, to comment in the comment section if you've found some tips or some things that have helped you. Please share that so you can help maybe someone else who is going through hard struggles right now with either miscarriage or abortion. And share our video and let us know how we can further help you. And of course, next week, we're going to be back on Tuesday. We'll be sharing another video, and we're going to be talking about guilt, the different types of guilt, and we're going to get into survivor guilt. So if this is something that you've been struggling with, please, you want to put it on your calendar, make sure to look for our video next Tuesday where we'll be sharing about that, and let us know of any struggles that you have. Like, we will create a video for you if you have anything that you would like for us to share with you. Tracey?
So you can comment once this video is posted. You can comment below. You can private message Michelle or I. And if you have any questions or need support in any way at all, we're here for you. So please make sure you reach out. You're not alone in this.
Yeah, and also I have a website. It's www.tears2treasures.com. So I welcome you to join me on my website. I have my offerings there as well. And Tracey, if you want to share your website. And
yep, my website is traceyswainson.com. That's TRACEYSWAINSON.com. So I'm here for you, and so is Michelle, and we're very happy that you joined us today. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for joining us for Soul Sessions. We will be back next Tuesday, so look for us. And we are also planning to start doing these live with Q&A. So if you have any questions, send them in, and we might just share your question, because we are definitely looking for topics that people are struggling with. So send in your questions, send us your comments, and let us know your feedback. We welcome it, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.